Hello everyone, I want to take another few minutes here and I'm going to make another video showing you how you can use existing websites to learn new things about how you might organize your own websites. I'm also going to go over some of the tools in each of the main web browsers, each of the three big ones, which would be Safari, Chrome, and Firefox, about how you can understand how a website's built and learn from the organization that's been put in place by these other websites. I'm going to use Apple's website for the example just because they have a very clean approach to how their website is organized, and there's pieces in the code itself that I think will be very clear to you as well. So this top part of the page here with the big banner rotating through. This is actually a little bit more complex. They're using some JavaScript here to make it cycle through all of these different photos. But this stuff down at the bottom where it's static is all very straightforward and simple, and I think that if I pull up the code in the inspector here, a lot of this will even make sense to you having gone through the Code Academy exercises. So you can see when I look at the code here, I'm going to flip down the body tab, and I have all of these different elements. And as I move my cursor over these different elements, I get different things being highlighted on the page. Right? You can see the little marching ants moving around. Here you can see the article hashtag billboard up there. This is a div for that entire, or an article rather, for that entire top section. And if I flip that down, you'll see that the contents of this change as the photo changes. This is based on that JavaScript. So you'll see those changes take place there. But the one that I actually want to look at is this aside promos. Now you could be using like divs or classes and things like that, and that's what they've done here, and that's helped them to assign their CSS. And if I actually click on that aside, you can see right over on the right hand side, this is again in Firefox under rules, we have all the CSS for those promos, and we could actually go in and add something here. Before we do that, I guess I should back up. I didn't show you how to get this inspector pulled up at all. So I'm going to close that, and all I do is go to Tools, Web Developer, Inspector, right there. And you can see that actually as I just move my cursor over the page, it moves the code around down beneath, and we get those marching ants moving around all over here. So you can actually see if I look at this UL piped right, we have an unordered list for the sitemap, hot news, RSS feeds, media info, environment, job opportunities, and contact us. And all of our list items are listed right underneath that. So this is kind of the way they've separated all those out to make it nice and clean. You have each of your line items in an unordered list, and they have rules for displaying those in the CSS for the piped right class, right? Backing up, let's take a look at the banners here, right? Here we go. This is the banners, or promos rather. Banner was the big one up top. So we have our promos right here, and if I flip it down, you can see there they also have it as an unordered list. Each of those 4 items is listed as a line item in that list, an LI in that unordered list, right? And just how you would expect. Sorry, this keeps moving. The JavaScript makes it a little bit difficult because those lines of code shrink and expand for each photo. But you can see right here we have our information for our first image. They make it a hyperlink to this other page that shows the keynote, and then within that A tag, right, the hyperlink tag, they have their image tag giving the contents of that hyperlink. This is where you could put text instead. That's what they've done down here. They just put text in between the different A tags. But you can see there's stuff that you can learn about how this is organized from this. And let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to minimize Firefox, and let's take a look at Chrome. They have a similar thing there. If you go to, if you right click on the page and say Inspect Element, it will pull up this bottom inspector console. So without it there, you can just right click and say Inspect Element. It pulls up that inspector at the bottom, and you can look at those different pieces. There's actually some other effects there where if you hover over an image link like this, it'll pull that image up for you. And you'll notice that they actually have this image hyperlink set up. They just have their image hosted somewhere on their server space on images.apple.com, and then they call it based on that HTML line, or that HTTP line rather. So that's the way they've managed that. Now I would also say you should check out, I'm going to make one more video about file management, and that'll help you understand where exactly they're putting this within their file structure to make this link work properly. So watch that video as well. It's going to be really, really important, especially if you're not familiar with like how you manage your files. If you're someone that just says, oh yeah, it's on my computer somewhere, you definitely need to watch it. It's going to be critically important as we get into this web stuff that you understand where all of your files are and where they exist in relationship to one another in order to make anything work properly. So make sure you watch that one. Very important. Okay, so that's how you can get the inspector pulled up in Chrome, and actually in both Firefox and Chrome and elements of the CSS. So if we wanted to see what this looked like, this promos class, if we wanted to see what it looked like with a border, 1 pixel border, 1 pixel black solid border, and now you can see that we have that 1 pixel border on our page here. It's pretty small. Let me make that a thicker border so you can actually see it. Or maybe even 4. There you go. Now it's nice and thick, easy to see. It kind of changes with this upper image. It's not perfect, but the site wasn't designed to have a border there initially. We're kind of adding it on the fly afterwards. But this is a nice way to play around with your own sites as well. If you want to see immediately what would happen if I did this to the CSS, you can try it here, see what kind of impact it has, and then go back to your code in Komodo Edit and add it in and save it and re-upload it and make those changes permanent. It's a nice quick way to play around with different ideas, and none of this obviously gets saved to Apple's site unless you create the file and upload it to their servers. If you make changes here, this is just for on your computer at that present time. I think even if I just refresh the page, that goes away. You can see that border is now gone. It's just a temporary thing. So feel free to play around with those different CSS elements on really any page you want. It's a pretty neat way to explore different opportunities there. Right? And let's get rid of Chrome. And now we have Safari. So Safari is a little bit trickier to get the menu pulled up on. You actually have to go into Safari Preferences and then go to Advanced and check this Show Develop menu in Menu Bar before you can get the inspector up at all. And then when you go to Develop, there's a Show Web Inspector. Since it's up, it says Close, but You can say show web inspector, and it's a lot of the same stuff. I also had to click this styles button right here to get my different styles elements there, right? But we can also see all of the different images that they're pulling here. Their whole file structure is set up for you there. But really, I think what you guys will probably want to be looking at is, oops, oh, there we go. I was looking at that image instead. What you guys will probably want to focus on is just the HTML and the CSS, right? That's all you guys are going to be using to build your sites. So if you just work with those, you should be all set. And feel free to poke around on some other sites. A lot of sites will end up having code that's a lot more complex and a lot more difficult to understand than this. And I'm not expecting you to write super complex code. In fact, a lot of times those super complex pieces of code are pre-written and they're part of templates that get used. If you end up working in this field and doing lots of stuff with heavy-duty code building, chances are you're not going to be typing the code manually and you'll be working with some sort of bootstrapper. But it's really helpful to understand how that code is put together so that you can work with those different tools to design great websites. So play around with this, see what you can learn, and also play around with it on your own sites to see what kind of different things certain CSS rules impact. Right? If I change different elements of this, if I, for instance, change the width of this promos column from 100% to 80%, you can see how it adjusts that and where it positions it. And you could play around with different things that way. And we can change it to really whatever we want. If you want to change it to 7%, you can, and then you end up getting things chopped off. Really, this is designed to be a 100% piece, right? And you could also change like the position attributes, different things like that. So play around with those. Also look at w3schools.com. There's lots of resources there about what all, it's really just like a big catalog of what all CSS rules exist and what all HTML pieces exist and how those operate. But if you've gone through the Code Academy, you should be pretty well set to start writing that code. So I'm also going to make a video showing you, I'll have 2 more videos this week for you, one for Code Academy, one for Komodo Edit rather, and one for file management. Those are going to be the 2 other videos that are going to be critically important this week. So good luck. If you have any questions, I know this is a big jump away from what we've been doing. So if you have questions, please let me know. I know that this is very new territory for lots of people, and I want to make sure that you're all on track. Good luck.